Hey everyone, Victor here, and a very happy New Year's Eve to you. And today, you're in for a special treat. You get to see how I made this Halo Infinite prop skewer. Let's get into it. As always, I begin with my research. I had the chance to play the test flight of Halo Infinite, and I used that window of opportunity to my advantage, as well as a few online reference photos.
Ballista?
Oh, that looked really painful.
You're exposed, Spartan. They know where we
In Victor fashion, I then made some sketches. For me, drawing is how I understand things, and if I can understand something, then I believe I'm already halfway done. To make the build easier, I made a digital drawing of the side view of the brute weapon. Do note that I scaled this project solely from my own observation. It is a big build, but not true 1-to-1 scale. I broke up the drawing onto small pieces of standard letter size copy paper, and then taped them together. There are minor gaps at the margins of the paper after printing, but that doesn't bother me much. Using my scissors and hobby blades, I set my drawing free. Now let's talk about structure. Sure, you don't always have to, but I personally need my props to feel a bit more rigid. My typical solution is to use PVC or PEX pipes. Imagine creating a skeleton in which your prop will be built around. That's the idea. I hand cut my pipes to length and use a heat gun to create bends. Here's a skeleton that I came up with. I used a generous amount of hot glue to attach the pipes together too. Now it's time to make our PVC pipe sandwich. I'm using 1/2-inch EVA foam, you know, those puzzle piece-like floor mats? There are many great options for EVA foams, but I'm using the basic affordable option from Harbor Freight for these base layers. Using my paper template as a guide, I trace the shape onto the foam and cut it out with my blades. Here's what the first foam layer looks like and how the pipes lay in place. I cut out the shapes of the pipe from the foam so that it will actually rest within the foam rather than just lay on top. I hot glue it once in place. Here is the second base layer. Once the base layers have been established, I move on to the detail layers. For these layers, I use thinner craft foam ranging from 2mm to 6mm in thickness. This process is repeated over and over again. The template is just a general guide, and I improvise many pieces for this build. Using a heat gun, I also create details such as panel lines and cutouts. To clean up any unevenness, I use Quick Seal. Quick Seal can be used to fill in gaps and smooth out edges. The skewer had some extreme bevels, so I spent some time cleaning those up. I made the stock by breaking it up into smaller components and wrapping them with craft foam to make it smooth. Here you can see that I'm using the blue pipe as a central support in which I can slide on the pieces. I was pretty proud of myself with this piece. As I mentioned earlier, I improvise a lot of this build. During my day of sending passive-aggressive emails, I would sketch out concepts in an attempt to help myself work through design challenges. Once back at my crafting table, I would test out these designs until I found no solution that I was happy with. For added details, I use my rotary tool. It's my only power tool, and I mainly use it to cut out tough materials and to emulate details like rivets and screws by using a small sanding drum, sort of like this. A common theme within the Brute arsenal are bandage handles. To replicate this, I use strips of 2mm craft foam and literally wrapped around parts where needed. The barrel is just a fancy tube, so I use this small plumbing pipe and wrapped it with craft foam to get my desired thickness. I make more detailed pieces and move on to the bayonet. My basic idea behind prop blades and sharp edges is to create two halves and bevel only one side so that the two halves come together at an angle. It's all coming together now. The scope was tricky, but as with anything, it's all about being able to break down complex forms into simpler shapes. The skewer shot itself was another foam wrapped tube with a cone at the end. After the building phase, we prime our build with black Plastidip. I've gone over this in a past video, so feel free to check that out. Just remember to use multiple light coats and allow some rest in between layers. The paint job is where these creations truly come alive. With regular acrylic paints, I use a dry brush method. I'm going for a weathered look, so I don't need to worry about perfect brush strokes. I use yellows, browns, and blacks to get the look I'm going for. It's important to not overthink, just have fun and let go. I finished off this build with red accents, silver highlights, and more dirty paint. And here we are. With limited reference material, but an ample amount of determination, I finished this prop Halo Infinite Skewer in less than 2 months. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. They take a while to make, so I appreciate you taking the time to watch and subscribing to my channel if you're interested. If you would like to see more photos of the skewer, I invite you to take a peek at my Instagram page, Victor's Pictures. Feel free to comment with any questions, and I'll see you on the next one.